With the release of MWZ and after playing roughly over 40 hours, I think it's time I can talk about a few things that I would like implemented into the title. Now, really quickly to clarify, these things are completely perspective, and you may or may not agree with me, but I think most of you guys will agree with me on some of this stuff. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like on it and comment down below some things you would like implemented or changed in MWZ. But let's just start off the list talking about how you lose everything on exfil. Now, I'm not going to go to the extent of saying that we should keep all Pack-a-Punch tiers. We should keep everything. What I do think we should keep is at minimum the rarity of our weapon type. So say you leave the match with an uncommon, a rare, or an epic weapon, legendary per se, we should be able to keep that. We shouldn't be able to lose that. Now, losing our Pack-a-Punch tiers, I kind of agree with that. Getting enough money, finishing contracts, looting around and selling, it is not that hard to get enough money to Pack-a-Punch your way up. But I do think we should keep our rarity of weapons. One other thing that I do think we should keep is extra things like self-revives, kill streaks, plated vests, and things like that. Whether that stays in our operator's backpack or it can be transferred to the stash, I think that would be fantastic. Now, I'm going to go into something a little bit interesting about this topic because I'm a little torn about it, to be honest with you guys. After the amount of time that I've played, and keep in mind I'm primarily play solo, it is not that hard to get there and pack a bunch of weapon to tier 2 to tier 3, get all this gear. As long as you jump into a tier 2 zone, you can find all these things fairly quick and you can gear up fast enough to be able to take on these higher zones with these higher level contracts. It's not that difficult. So I'm kind of torn about all these things that I've just discussed because the scale and the difficulty in order to keep and gain all these things is not that difficult. It's not that difficult to get back to where you were. But I do think quality of life wise and the progression and the way that the fluidity of you playing the game with a new deployment and just being able to jump straight into a tier 3 zone, I think it would and could work out good. Now, they would have to figure out a way to implement it properly. Now, since we're kind of on the topic of the stash and holding items, I do think the stash needs to be increased. And I do believe in the future it will eventually be increased. For some of you guys who did not play DMZ, a lot of the MWZ mechanics came from DMZ and they're completely the same or they're a little bit different just based off of the kind of gear types we have and just the overall gameplay. But I do think the stash needs to be bigger than it is. And I do think that's going to come, especially on December's update. I'm assuming the stash is going to go up 15, so eventually we'll have a 25 gear slot stash to hold items, whatever it may be, aether tools, crystals, gear. That is one big thing, and I do know it's coming, so just wait for an update. It will come. And just like DMZ had, I do kind of think it would be good to implement the ability to have a stash of money, just like DMZ had. We had the ability to stash up to $100,000 and bring any amount into the game with us. This way we could jump straight into tier 3. Say you want to take on the worm, say you want to jump straight into the harder contracts and you just like, you are a heavy grinder and you just want to play in the ruthless area with tier 3, or you want to go solo and be able to have everything, buy as many perks as you can right off the bat. Being able to stash money in the lobby and then bringing a specific amount in, I think would be a fantastic implementation. Now, this is the biggest thing that I do think needs to change with the game. This is one thing that I don't think will change, but I do think it will be implemented. Everything I've talked about so far, I do think is eventually going to have some kind of rework or something changed about it in some way, shape, or form. Like the ability to store a third weapon in our backpack like DMZ, being able to store extra backpacks, things like that. I don't know, those things could be implemented, but this thing, I don't think there's going to be a change on it, but I do think it should have a change. As you guys know, with the insured weapon, based off the amount of time you play in a game, your insured weapon cooldown goes down. Now, when we have schematics, whether it's a perk can, ammo mod, whatever it may be, that is also on a cooldown. It's on about a 2-hour cooldown each, which I think is fantastic. I do think those cooldowns, those acquisition cooldowns, those schematic cooldowns, should also be somewhat at a deduction. Now, I don't think it should be as good as an insured weapon is because every minute in the game is roughly about 10 minutes off your insured weapon. I do think the schematic should be set to the same, but I think the timing should be a little bit different. Like maybe every 3 to 4 games, the cooldown will be done. You know, you play a full game, 35-minute game, 40-minute game, it pulls a few minutes off your cooldown. I think that would be great implementation because, again, guys, I love MWZ. I think it's fantastic. I don't want the mode to be easier. That's not what I'm getting at with these changes. I think all these things are just going to be quality of life changes for not only the hard grinders and the people who, you know, can rough it out solo like I've been, but also for, you know, people who are getting used to the mode, didn't know how DMZ worked and are getting used to just zombies overall, because there are a lot of players who did not play the round-based zombies who are coming into this year's zombies, because it's a completely different style game mode, and it can be overpowering at times, you know, especially as a solo player. Even with a team, it can be overpowering. So I do understand that, you know, making these changes to not necessarily make the game easier from a difficulty standpoint, but easier from a quality of life standpoint. That's the best way I can put it. Just increase the quality of life, increase the willingness for the player to continue playing the game and go out there and do what you want to do and be able to do it and be like, you know what, I'm not going to get completely shredded tonight, lose everything, and it's all over. I do have a video going over strike teams and operators for some people who did not come from DMZ and don't necessarily know how that works. If you are not setting up your 3 operators correctly, this is one big tip really quick I'll give you guys. It is very important to set up your operators. Have 2 operators on the back burner. Normally the way I do this is I have 2 operators that are fully kitted out, 3 plate vests, big backpack, self revives, kill streaks, whatever it may be. And then I have an operator that I consistently use, and if he dies, it's totally fine. But if I'm doing a specific mission or I want to go straight into a tier 3 zone, I have one of these operators on the back burner to use to just go into it. That's just a quick tip, just, you know, to tell you guys, because we're talking about changes here. We're talking about things that could be implemented into the title that would help the title out in general, just from a progression standpoint as well as just quality of life. Is there any other things that you wish would be implemented in the title? You know, there's so many things I could talk about, but I do know in December's update, a lot of things are going to be coming to the title. We're going to have new warlords. We're going to have new mini bosses around the world. We're going to have new contracts. There's going to be so many new things implemented into the title that I can't really talk about too many things that I want added, because I know it's coming. And guys, I'm not saying that because I'm work with Call of Duty or Call of Duty's partner with me or anything. I would love to though. So Call of Duty, if you're watching this video, I'd love to work with you. It's just based off of the information that we've seen from launch, because I've done a lot of research. I'm a DMZ player. I'm a zombies player. This game mode for me is the perfect blend of the two, and I honestly love it, and I think it's one of the best modes Call of Duty has put out there. I might be a little bit biased. Remember, everyone can have their own opinion just as I can have mine. I totally respect it. I totally get why people miss the round-based mode. That is a classic zombies experience for Call of Duty, but this is a new style of zombies, and I just think it's fun. Overall, I just think it's a great experience. I appreciate you guys for staying and watching the video. Let me know down in the comments below what you would like implemented into the title. Let me know if there's anything you would love to see added, something changed that is already an existing mechanic, or something that may be over the top that you don't think is going to be added but could be potentially cool. Like, I think helicopters could be even cool, you know? Now, I do think the fuel capacity on them should be fairly low, so, you know, we're not just flying them around everywhere and it's just making the game super easy. You fly and hover into a tier 3 zone. Helicopters could be fantastic. I do think they're eventually going to come, but we will have to see. I appreciate every single one of you guys. If you haven't already, subscribed to the channel. We cover everything MWZ here on the channel. We're on a road to 5,000 subscribers. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Not only does it help others see this video, but it helps me and the channel grow. I'm Nomad, and as always, guys, stay happy, stay hyped, and have a beautiful day.